we're hoping to bid that down. Early looks, we're hopefully going to get that down about $23,000. And then the maintenance service contracts. Those are contracts because Lewis and Clark is no longer under coverage. We need to include those because those repairs can be quite costly if we don't do preventive maintenance on them. We removed all the building maintenance monies that were at $202,000, grounds maintenance at $802,000, and the transportation supplies that would be used to keep the older buses running at $17,737. And then the unemployment tax is maintained. If you look at the totals under the subtotals, the subtotal of $862,640, if you add the that's $862,000, I'm sorry. You add the $371,583 plus the $500,000, that just puts us a little bit above what we really have to do to maintain operations, because we have been cutting equipment and supplies, and we have been cutting textbooks to try to maintain budget. With everything, and then the $669,000 actually is covered in the salary increases, if you all would consider those. And then to get to the end of year monies, right now we have purchased paper at a little over around $37,000, and then we have school-based needs that we have to meet and other needs in the division of $155,000, which is $192,000. So the grand total for end of year monies spending is $303,078.41. We have had an increase in ADM, state sales tax, and from ARRA monies. When I looked at all of our reimbursements and our Title IV and ARRA and ADM and everything, we assumed that we were going to end up with about $596,620. Most of the purchases up above are already in process. That leaves us $266,539.27 left for bonuses, which would mean for 321 teachers, an additional 23 administrators, we could do approximately a $500 end-of-year bonus and support staff at around $300, which would be a total of $249,400, and I'm just speaking off the cuff and giving you those figures. And I've spent probably quite a bit of time since our meeting working through this, and a lot of time in the last probably 4 days, starting last Thursday, really digging through this to see what we could do and what we could squeeze out, and to give you the best projections for where we stand at this point. And this is not holding nothing back. We're standing here in front of you.
There's a phrase for that, but I don't think it's appropriate right now. But we're all, we're trying to show you our cards. You're trying to show us your cards. And I think that's what the purpose of this is. So, Ms. Akers, you were there. Did you have something you wanted to add or perspective?
Well, no, I think that the numbers have changed somewhat since we met from this page 3 item. And I think at that meeting, I had a call from one of the school board members last week, and they were concerned that we're not able to give support staff the type of increase, and I believe it was like a 4% increase is what they would like to see given to support staff. And to be honest, I thought that we had, in the $500,000 additional dollars that we had said that the school board would get, I had hoped that there was money in that $500,000 to look at support staff increases at 4%. I was under the impression that when we talked about the year-end money that was left over, that money would be used as a one-time bonus for the teachers. That's what I had. That was my intention in supporting to be honest with you, in supporting the carryover from the year-end balance. So, again, as we talked when we met, we still are good ways from what we'd indicated would be the number that we could give versus what you're wanting from the county. So I don't know how we fill that gap.
All right, but before we go to some more questions, Dr. Kelo, I just want to, Mr. Akers, refresh my memory for something. We, the Board of Supervisors is proposing right now to give local funding to the schools $11,500,000.
Yes, sir.
And your page 3 that we have here, after you've made a lot of revisions, is saying that the school board needs $12,226,000 local funds.
But that $500,000 does not include, it would be actually $11,566,000 because that is the money transferred for the bus leases.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, you have to subtract that. I was going to say the same thing.
So
You're
that
right.
is going to take place
So-
as to whatever the number is.
That's already set up to happen, yes, sir.
All right, well, I appreciate that, but we're $700,000 off, and you're pointing out $66,000, but so we're really $700,000 off.
Yes,
Right.
if we wanted to intend into trying to squeeze some form of raises, or we can leave portions out, or we can continue to revisit it. I mean, we went back and forth and round about the special ed teachers, the elementary teachers, and we've worked and looked at the numbers and seen, you know, again, a lot of this is projections, but even based off of most of the scenarios we're looking at, there's just no way around not hiring the additional staff in order to keep the funding. The middle school is we're just pushing it at the limit. I mean, when you're putting 69 additional students up there, and we're probably going to pick up those additional, at least some of that additional in the kindergarten level, if not more. And, you know, again, our ADM was up this year. We were at, I believe we were at 4113. Is that right, Becky? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
So really, I mean, I'm just trying to see where we are. I'm not making a judgment or anything, just trying to state it, but your $12,200,000 and our $11,500,000, even if we added the $249,000 you're saying that you have as carryover, we're still $500,000 short.
Well, and
of what you say you need.
Mr. Thomas, if we were using, I would hope, we can do the bonuses whenever, but if we did them, that would deplete all of our end of the year money if we did the bonuses at the end of this year in June. So there'd be no carryover. In fact, over the last 2 years, we've carried over a total of $389, or left over $389.24. That's all we've had for the last 2 years total.
Right.
So, and you know, when Mr. Akers shared, when you all have shared, and Mr. Akers shared in the meeting, we've been trying to be prudent to try to do what you've asked us to do. And that's why you're seeing the savings and getting the reimbursements in so we can get that done. Because I realize that's what the will of this board was, and the school board wanted the same thing. So we've been working towards that means.
Okay. I just want to, you know, make sure we look at all of the figures we have in front of us. Mr. Seeley, you had a question?
Well, now that you've clarified the numbers, I was just, we didn't have the bonus numbers. I guess that's what I was looking for, is how that actually fell out and what those numbers were.
Yeah, they're not on this sheet. I just was working on those late this afternoon, getting everything from Leafin, and that's how we regenerated all the numbers.
Okay.
And that's looking at what we need for closeout, final payments, and everything else that we have out, purchase orders.
I had 249. Mr. Popowitz?
I have no question.
Mr. Underwood? That's what they're short. Okay, we were just trying to calculate the two differences.
Yeah, the differences between them are $669,000. It's what I'm reading in the light. I still need to sometimes wear other glasses to make sure I'm right. And, you know, again, I've been very upfront with the staff. They understand the needs of the VRS, but, you know, I would strongly, my biggest concern is where our support staff salaries are. And, you know, I'm going to do what I can to dig deeper still, because I'm still working on it. You know, it's a work always in progress. I think that's a major concern, and you know, I understand, you know, we're tight, and I respect that, and I would love to take care of our teachers. They've worked hard for 3 to 4 years.
Well, I mean, we feel the same way that,
I know you do.
you know, that you do. It's just, you know, where do we get it from now? And that's the battle we're having for the next, I guess, 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, until June 30th, when we officially have a budget.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I was told on the phone last week that there was let me back up. What amount is needed, what additional amount is needed in order to make sure that the sports staff get a 4% increase? Over and above what we've already said we're going to give you.
If we, I have it figured at 5%, so I assume, Mr. Akers, and I don't have my count, I can pull it out, it would be 273 divided by 5 times 4. 220,000.
How much?
It's about 220,000
Okay.
to do a 4%.
I was told $100,000 is what was needed in order to give the 4% salary increase.
I had 249. Okay.
For support
We
staff.
got 240 on that number. I mean, 240, 220, we're, you know.
No, I'm saying what the school board member told me last week when they called. They called me last week and said that she was, or the individual said that they were sick because at the meeting the night before, that you'd indicated to the school board that needed $100,000 in order to give additional increase to the support staff. I'm only talking about support staff. Okay. Okay.
That's not the case.
I mean, we would use the 100,000. You know, we're figuring when we do the 273, we've got to cover, you know, the FICA and all the other pieces. That element includes everything, including any contributions that would be made with VRS or anything. That's what the number reflects.
How much did you make a presentation to the school board on that last Monday night, a week ago, yesterday, as to how much a 2% increase would cost, and whether you had enough money to give a 2% increase to support staff? I
think we have broken out administrators at a 2%.
Support staff.
Support staff, we've never really talked about anything under 5% that I'm aware of.
So you never talked about anything as far as an increase for support staff?
We did talk about a number, but it was 5%, but I don't remember $100,000 being discussed.
But you never did talk about anything less than that?
We may have talked about, you know, trying to figure out if we didn't need the additional staff, what we might have been able to do. I mean, it may have been just a general discussion, but not a presentation to that order.
There may have been some other discussions, but because I wasn't there and I don't know. Okay.
Could I ask a question, Dr. Kilo? And I think your finance director is back there too. I can't really see. But anyhow, 5% for just to support people. 5% raises equals $273,000.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, there's and I had a sheet, and I must have handed it to somebody, and it has actually the numbers of how many staff we actually have, so it reflects out the number of what that number of people that are impacted.
Okay, well, I just did the reverse math, and your number is $5,460,000 is what support staff is being paid. Does that sound right?
Probably sounds pretty correct. Overall,
overall?
with everything, Lathan, does that sound on order?
Does that sound right? Because I'm thinking support staff is like the teachers' aides and the bus drivers and
Custodians,
custodians.
all maintenance workers, cafeteria.
All of those people are paid $5 million? Can't be more than a couple of hundred of them.
This number needs to subtract the FICA or the VRS
Can you use the mic?
benefit
Can you use
before-
the mic so we can hear you? I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
This number needs to subtract some of the benefits before we calculate the salary total.
Okay.
So it's very different, like the FICA part, that the VRS part, and before we need to subtract that before we arrive at the total salary level.
Okay. What do you have for salary?
I don't have that with me, but this is how it was calculated.
But I mean, okay,
Staff,
it's, and just to guesstimate, if we say the salary is X, then usually benefits are another 1/3.
30%.
So
28%.
if I take that 5.6 million divided by 1.3 and then divided by the number of people you have, I should get an average salary, which is probably going to be somewhere around the $50,000, $60,000 range, and I don't think that's right.
I can do a math later on, but
Let me, oh, all right, if, okay. See, the teacher that asked me to do the clock thing last month, yeah, I don't do clocks. I do numbers, and I can do the numbers. So I took
Have real quickly.
273,000, which represents 5% of X, because X is the total number. So I divide 5.05 into 273,000, and I get 5.4 million, whatever that number was. Now, if I say your benefits are 30%, I can divide 1.3 into that $5.6 million and come up with another number, which would be just salary. Then I take that salary number and divide by the number of employees and get an average salary. But I think somewhere we're off, because $5 or $6 million for those people doesn't sound right. And I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same track. Is that,
Wait up.
Mr. Sims, I know you teach math, did that sound like it was a good formula?
We're talking about $213.
Divide by 5.05?
That's not right.
0.05.
Oh, 0.05, yeah, I agree. But you said 5.05. I'm checking your math right now.
It's 213.
Calculator?
That averages out per employee about $213 increase. If you use the 273,000, you divide it by 5, it's 54,000. You divide it by 256 people, or approximately, because it's probably bigger than
Wait,
that.
say that slow so I could see. You're taking the 273.
Take 273, divide it by 5,
Why divided by 5?
because 1% each, right?
No, it's 5%, which is 0.05.
Right, but I'm just dividing it by 5 so I know what each 1% counts.
Oh, all right.
Then I take that and I divide it by the total number of employees, and it comes out to $213.28 increase per average per person. Now, you know, it's going to vary depending on what grade and where you are.
So you have the number of employees now?
We have, she gave me a guesstimate number. That's what I was
It's
using.
1,000?
Do what?
It's 1,000 employees?
No, I
Guesstimate.
said 256, approximately.
256 employees.
Yeah, and I would have to check because I'm just using a rough number there.
That's not 5 million.
See, that's, okay. If I just take 256 employees and divide that by 273, then everybody's getting a $1,000 raise. Is that what we're talking about?
That's correct.
I'm gonna follow you either way the numbers go.
No,
I'm just
you're
trying.
right, with a 5%. Do what?
And all them are not on the road. Those are
That would only be 1%.
That's what I'm saying.
How many
18,000.
bus drivers and maintenance people do you have? JD, do you know how many bus drivers you've got?
I had it on my sheet. I have about 256.
Well, that's total employees?
Do what?
Total employees?
Total employees in the
All
whole
right,
division.
so the 273 is not a number that needs to be divided, because that is just for the support staff. My question is, how many support staff, bus drivers?
I said 250, about 256. I had it written down on a sheet, and somebody may have it, and they would have the number, and we could work towards that. I didn't, I must have handed that sheet out.
How many bus drivers do you have?
On direct number, how many, JD?
92 bus drivers.
Mhm.
But that's the support staff that we were talking about.
That's correct. They're all hourly rate.
Okay, but that's support staff that we were talking about originally as far as getting, it's the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers,
Bus drivers,
and the maintenance people.
teacher assistants were included in this, maintenance workers, cafeteria. that
So
whole
you've got
crew.
256 of those employees.
If you count everybody that's a classified employee, yes. And that would include clerical staff also, custodians. Lisa, what is the total number here? We have 85, 25, 14, 29. There is something wrong with that number. It doesn't make sense.
Year in spending?
26 and 78.
I had,
Maintenance, 7.
all right, I wrote down 200 and, hey, where did I write?
20, 34, 41,
Oh,
8, 10. I have 200.
I got 249, but hold that for 1 second. Let us try to get the personnel things.
The number is 281.
281,
If you count transportation,
Employee.
custodians, food service, clerical, custodians, food service, and instructional assistants, and maintenance. All those would be under what we would call classified employees.
okay. And once again, I'm just trying to get perspective with the numbers just to make sure I understand. But if, let's say a typical employee makes $20,000, typical support employee, then 10% of 20,000 is 2,000, half of that would be 1,000. And that would be kind of like the ballpark number we're talking about. So if somebody makes $20,000, we're getting a $1,000 raise.
If they were getting a 5%, so that would be about the 200 and something thousand, because some of them are going to be a little bit higher than
Based
that.
on the 281.
Yeah, that's an average.
I just want to be in the ballpark.
Right. Your average would work out, because you're going to have some employees that have been here long-term, you know, teacher assistants or even maintenance workers or thus that are making a little bit more. Some of the long-term custodians, some of your food service staff
Okay.
are going to be making more than 20,000.
But 281 people making $20,000 a year would be $5.6 million.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted perspective on that. I think I got perspective, and I think I kind of understand where we
Well, I
are.
enjoyed the math thing, but you.
I did well on the math SAT. I didn't do too good on the verbal, because sometimes I say what I shouldn't.
Well, it
Mr.
kept,
Underwood,
it keeps
you
me
had
fresh.
you had a question on another matter.
Dr. Killer, we talked about year-end spending.
Yes, sir.
You said 37,000 for paper, is that correct?
That's 37,000 for purchasing for paper, for part of the purchase of paper for next year, yeah.
Right, purchase for next year, okay.
Mhm.
And then 155 for said base operation or base. Can you elaborate a little more on that for me?
Some of the things that we were talking about in there would be, you know, equipment and materials. You know, at the end of the year, the teachers go through and make requests for what they need to put in their classrooms or what they need, or instructional supplies and materials to make the year work. And I think we got well over $300 and something thousand worth of requests. Many of those were cut back.
Oh, that's
Some
right.
of it's to buy and continue software licenses and stuff because they're due now.
So year-end punch list is basically what it is for,
Yes, sir.
to prepare for next year. Okay.
Almost 20,000. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Divided by 8. That's almost 20,000. So there's a whole bunch of these in here that make 30. Okay. Well, we're still trying to get there. We're still trying to get there. Or as one of my constituents so famously put, just do it. So we're trying to just do it. We're just still trying to figure out how exactly everything shakes out and where we are. Mr. Steele, did you have any? I see you calculating too. Do you have any extra information? Not yet. Okay. Now the number again, the number you project for year end is 249, 249,000.
Actually, about, if we can round, about 270 would be left over if you're talking about for bonuses. Yes, sir.
270.
Yes, sir. But that would be for bonuses for teachers as well as administrators and support staff.
And how many of those people is it? How many teachers are there?
Total 602.
600 teachers?
No, teachers 321.
321 teachers. So we're a little bit short of $1,000 a person there if we just use that 270 and say, okay, for all the teachers, here's $1,000 bonus at the end of the year. We would almost be able to cover that.
Well, I would contend if we're not going to give, we could, and I would strongly encourage that we look at 344, including the administrators. If we're going to just do support staff, at least then everybody gets a cut of the bucket somewhere. So that would be, and using the same number for teachers and administrators. That's where I've been recommending that our board go, just so that you know discussion is using the same figure.
Okay.
And we might, you know, again, we're still talking variables. You know, we can try. We can try to squeeze more if I needed to squeeze. You know, we're talking 340. That's 70,000. Well, you know, we can try to. We're going to continue to work on that.
Okay.
Total employees, Dr. Killo, you said there were 650 total employees.
602.
I'm sorry?
602.
602.
Yeah.
Total for the whole system? For the whole system?
Yes.
Teachers, bus drivers, guy who comes in and changes the light bulbs on Thursday, that's all part of 602?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay. Okay, we're trying to get there from here. And excuse all the questions, but I just want to try to get my arms around it. I think we're trying to come up with something.
So if you gave, I don't want to throw a number out, if you gave all employees a $600 bonus, that's going to cost $361,000 approximately. Right?
That sounds, if you're talking about all 602, yeah, that'd probably be,
Yeah.
I don't have the number, but that sounds reasonable, because I have,
And we have 200.
I have a 258 at 300 and 344 at 500. So
Yeah,
you would have to double that. That's 144,000, 310, and then we go up. Yeah, you're probably not too far off. Just doing quick math, real quick.
Right. So if you use the 270 that you had left over into this year, you'd still be $91,000 short.
And that was doing a $600 bonus for everybody. Is that correct, Mr. Akers? That was
Sorry.
$600?
600, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
600 times 602 is $361,200. Okay. All right, Dr. Kilo, I'm not sure we're going to resolve anything right this instant, but I think you've provided us a lot of information that can help us, and we do appreciate it. And again, I mean, we're going to try to get there from here. The reality of us finding another $700,000 for you to get to this 12.2 million, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't see that happening. But for us to try to figure out how to get some kind of raises there, I believe we're going to work as hard as we can to do that.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time, and appreciate the energy you've put into this. And,
Bonus.
you know, if we can do, we're even looking at combinations and mixing like we've talked about tonight, we may have to do that. And, you know, I think the staff's aware of that.
And that's kind of what we're really trying to do, and I have to say, because the board keeps reminding me, the word I need to use is bonus. See, that was a good math SAT score and a bad verbal one. Bonus is the word we need to use, because bonus is a one-time event, and we'll try to do it, you know, this year, and maybe we'll be able to do it again, and that's what we're going to try to do. So I'm sure we'll deliberate some more, and again, I appreciate your time and all the folks from the school board who came out.
All right, and we'll continue to dig and see if we can't find something else ourselves. And if we do, we'll let you know.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, wow. Resolution for closed session. All right, oh, county administrator's report, you have a report? Oh, thanks, outstanding. Very good, go ahead. You want, no, anything you have to say, go ahead.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I have a written update here from Comcast regarding their schedule for the upgrades that they've announced, and they plan to hold a community meeting on June 1st, I believe it is, Mr. Wilson, at the Visitor Center, to invite the public to go over their plans and answer any questions about the particulars there. So I do have a
Thank you very much, Mr. Parton. I'll take the cookie one, that's fine. Oh, you got it? You got enough?
I got enough, I should.
Oh, you got more than enough.
Then with regard to calendar items, just to mention a few things, Mr. Akers has a community meeting coming up at Ladysmith Fire Department at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. County offices will be closed on Monday in observance of Memorial Day. Mr. Akers will have two community meetings the following week at 6:30 on June 1st at the Ladysmith Library, and at 7 o'clock on June 2nd at Lake Caroline. As was mentioned earlier, Fort A.P. Hill's 70th anniversary is on Saturday, June the 11th. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
You sure, Ms. Parton? We don't want to shortchange you.
I believe in brevity.
Thank you very much. Okay, that was the county administrator's report. Closing board comments, Mr. Underwood.
None?
Mr. Popowitz.
I have none.
Mr. Seeley.
None, sir.
Mr. Akers.
No, sir.
All right, I have none. Resolution to convene in closed meeting or motion the board, you should move that the board convene in closed meeting pursuant to the personnel exemption of section 2.2-3711A1, the Code of Virginia, to discuss personnel matters relating to the duties of interim county administrator and the acquisition of real estate exemption, section 2.2-3711A3, the Code of discuss acquisition of utility easement in Caroline Pines, and the consultation with legal counsel exception. You wrote this by hand. I was reading the other stuff really good. Section 2.2-3711A7, Code of Virginia, for legal advice with regard to the submission of redistrict plans of Justice Department. Is that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. We will be in closed meeting in about 10 minutes. Board will reconvene for closed meeting. Oh, I thought you waited. Mr. Underwood, do you certify that only those things we went into closed session were discussed, and in your case, with the exception of the utilities? Oh, do I need a motion to come out of utilities first? Out of us?
Yes.
All right, I'll take a motion
I make
first.
a motion, we come out of closed session.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Popowitz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're now out of closed session. Mr. Underwood, do you certify that only those things that we went into closed session were discussed with the exception of the utilities which you weren't here for?
I so certify.
Mr. Popowitz, do you certify you were here for all of it?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley, do you certify?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers, you certify?
I so certify.
And I so certify. We have one action item out of the closed meeting, which would be to extend offers for the easement to the property owners that were contacted by the utility department.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Emerson, that's good for you.
Abstain.
Motion made as presented. Motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Popowitz. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And Mr. Underwood abstains. So the motion carries 4-0 with Mr. Underwood abstaining because he wasn't in for that. Mr. Underwood is abstaining because he is an affected property owner in that case. So that takes care of our meeting. Just as a, how do I do this, Ben? Jeff, Wayne, and I may be at a meeting with Comcast on June 1st. Should we adjourn to that meeting? And if we adjourn to that meeting and Wayne doesn't show, Jeff and I are there, there's no quorum. So we're just, there is no meeting. No.
You don't have much
I
time.
think it'd be,
We're gonna,
I just assumed adjourn, and then
We're
when we
gonna-
all
we're gonna-
show up, it's not an issue.
we're gonna adjourn to 6 o'clock. Then if they meet at 7, we're there at 6. Okay, we're gonna adjourn to 6 o'clock, June 1st,
At the visitor center.
at the Visitor Center for the entire board. You gentlemen are welcome to come to. It's really just a Comcast meeting. But according to state code and FOIA, we 3 of us can't be in the same meeting if it's not social. So that's what we're gonna do. Is that the motion to adjourn to? Okay.
I'll
Second. All in favor say aye.
aye.
Motion carries. We stand adjourned to 2.